there's a topic that I have been very, very excited to talk about. Today, the Jets have officially, as the sources tell us, it's happened. They fired Robert Saleh after their 23-17 loss to Minnesota in London. The Jets are now 2-3 for their start. So Saleh was hired in 2021. His record is 20-36. Not good, but if you compare it to other Jets head coaches, it's the best in recent memory. This is the first time the Jets owner, Woody Johnson, has fired a head coach midseason. Now, he's been there 25 years, and we have seen some bad coaches in New York. And for this to be the first time it's happened is alarming. And we're going to talk about why we think it's the first time it's happened. Now, I'm going to give you some kind of information. Robert Saleh, keep in mind, is a defensive-minded head coach. Okay? The thing was, it's been the past couple years, the Jets have been a playoff contending team without the quarterback. That's been the narrative, okay? Will you bring in a quarterback? Robert Saleh said, okay, we're going to take Aaron Rodgers. He's this veteran. We're going to bring him in. He's going to bring us to the promised land, okay? Aaron Rodgers says, hold up. I want an OC here that I can trust. So what did the Jets do? What did Robert Saleh do? He hired Nathaniel Hackett, the OC, okay? Their defense has never been the problem. Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded head coach. They have to keep their offense in check. That's what they've been having to do every season. Hey, we need to improve on the offense. How can you improve a quarterback who's already been in the league 20 years? He's over 40 years old. How are you supposed to develop him? You can't. You have to trust him for being a 20-year veteran to improve your offense, which you brought him to New York to do. Not only did you bring him, you brought him the OC he wanted. You brought him the offensive coordinator he wanted in New York that he whined about. So now you have fired a head coach that not only brought in to try to solve your offensive situation, who is not an offensive head coach. He brought in somebody that knew offense, a 20-year veteran like Aaron Rodgers, and now he is fired from New York. Why? Why is he fired from New York after trying to solve all the questions every analyst, coach, fan had in New York for the Jets? Why? What happened there, Ty?
I don't know. I thought it's a little premature. 2-3. They lose to teams like the Niners and the Vikings. Those are good teams. Even with Niners being injury riddled, and but the Vikings though, they've proved to be great. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you why. I was kind of surprised this morning. It kind of caught me off guard. I think it caught the whole NFL world off guard. And the others, and it just defense hasn't been the problem, and he's a defensive guy. What do you? And he's gone, and they've made moves. They've made moves to try and get better, unlike what we just talked about with the Cowboys. They've made moves to try and go get better. It's not like last year is just last year. That was kind of rough. You lose you lose Aaron Rodgers, not even a full drive into the ball game of your campaign. How could you ever predict that? They've got good pieces on defense. They've went and signed a lot of guys. They've I don't know. I feel like he's tried to make the effort. And they start 2-3, like I said, with two losses to some good teams. I don't know. I just feel like it's premature. And like I said, the defense was the defense was good. Defense is one of the best in the NFL, and your offense seemed to be the problem. So why not give Nathaniel Hackett a little bit of fire? You know, um, you know, it's just going to be interesting to see, how who steps up and who leads this team. Um, you know, you got the interim head coach. He's an NFL guy. He's been around a lot. I'm assuming they kind of promoted him there just because he's a player. He's a player guy. He's like I said, he's played in the league. He's coached a little bit. I guess he's kind of the best with that kind of dynamic. Um, you know, it and the Aaron Rodgers dynamic too. We hadn't even talked about that. The Rodgers dynamic I feel like was so interesting with Saleh, and maybe that's the reason. Maybe Rodgers was unhappy and kind of spoke to the front office about it. You know, he's been known to do some crazy stuff. That guy, he's a character now. Great
I
ball
mean,
player.
let's talk
But
about it. Let's talk about it though, because okay, well now you have to have an interim head coach, and right now Jeff Ulbrich is the defensive coordinator. He's got to be the interim, and I saw him at the Senior Bowl. I actually met him at the Senior Bowl in Mobile back before the draft. He's a pretty. I like the way he's articulate with his words. He knows ball, of course. He's there for a reason. And now you have a thing with, and you said something earlier that I need to point out. That was just so beautiful that I'm glad you said it, because now you have a situation where you're saying, okay, well, the offense was the problem. Robert Saleh saw that, okay? He was going to fire Nathaniel Hackett. That was what he was going to do. Mm-hmm. So what did the front office do? Coincidentally, right before he was supposed to fire Nathaniel Hackett, they fired him. Why? Because Nathaniel Hackett is Aaron Rodgers' guy. When you have Robert Saleh might have been there since 2021. Aaron Rodgers has been in the league for 20 years. When you got somebody with 20-year credentials, I mean, we see players more now than ever being general managers for their teams. You see it. You see it in the NBA. You see it with LeBron and Los Angeles. You're seeing it now in the NFL. I mean, it's a business. There's politics involved in business. Aaron Rodgers is the guy that took Robert Saleh out. I mean, I wish I had the video. I wish I pulled it. But, I mean, they had an interaction at the beginning of the season where Robert Saleh tried to be like, yo, it's okay, tried to give him a hug. And Aaron Rodgers was like, no. He, pushes him. Literally pushes him and, get off of me. Dude, we're seeing something where it's like, this might be the biggest mistake the Jets have made since they brought in Aaron Rodgers. And I'm calling that a mistake because of what happened today. You cannot fire a coach whose specialty is defense and has your defense up here, brings in stuff to solve your offense. When that doesn't work out, you blame the defensive head coach. Why? Because Aaron Rodgers said so. Because Aaron Rodgers whined about it. Because that's how it's going to be. Aaron Rodgers says it. You can't disobey your parents, Ty. It's you can't say, why did that happen? Oh, because I said so. That's why it happened in New York. Because Aaron Rodgers said so.
Yeah. It's just certainly an interesting dynamic to look at. Ulbrich, it's a good test for him, obviously. I mean, you get thrown in the role going into week 6. I mean, it's a great test for him. You spoke about him. He seems like a great guy. Obviously knows ball. Like I said, he's played in the league. He's been around football his entire life. We'll see how that works out for him. The offense has just got to get rolling, though. And Ulbrich was a part of that. Ulbrich was a defensive coordinator. So he's a part of that. It's not like Saleh's just calling the defense by himself. Ulbrich has some ideas, and he brings those in. But Hackett and Rodgers and company have got to get the offense going. That's the one thing I want to examine with the Jets. I mean, you throw 3 picks last week. Come on. I mean,
fire your head coach because of it.
I mean, I just I don't know. They got to get something going, and the running game too. I don't. I you've probably noticed last two games. It's definitely taken a dip. It's definitely taken a dip. I know. That Broncos game was a basically a monsoon, but you want to keep the ball on the ground during those types of ball games, and you know they didn't rush it that they didn't run it that well last game, and they didn't run it well at all. I would know because Brees Hall's on my fantasy team. Uh, they they didn't run it well at all against Minnesota and London. So they got to get the run game going because Brees Hall's good back, and Braylon Allen behind him, he runs with some vigor. I mean,
Dude, he's
he's
younger
an
than
intense
me.
back. Yeah,
He's younger
yeah,
than
he's a
me.
young dude. I mean, he runs intense. He runs intense. Some say, I mean, he runs better than Brees Hall does. But Brees Hall is a weapon both in the run game and the pass game, and he's been kind of quiet. It's just not a lot of offensive success. But you fire the defensive minded guy who's led to some defensive success uh, throughout this first part of the season. It's just weird, weird, weird.